democracy. Those that do not believe in telling the people of Ghana the truth are at work once again. And we cannot help but notice the extent of their mischief. However, we know and believe that true democracy, the truth, would always prevail at all times. Today, with me in the studios to discuss some of the very pertinent issues that we have on our table is Mahama Abdullahi, a member of the NPP communications team. And I'll take a short break at this moment. When we come back, we would introduce him properly and get back into the issues. Welcome back to Minority Caucus. So today we have Mahama Abdullahi, and we're expecting to be joined very soon by Eugene Marfo. But Mahama, good evening, welcome.
Good evening.
As usual, our enemies are at work once again. But I just want to ask you a brief question before we delve into the issues. What is your opinion about propaganda and politics in Ghana generally?
Thank you, Nana. Seriously, I think it's having a toll on everything in the country. I think it's only one party who has that as part of their machinery. You don't see that in any other party in this country. So you can just imagine. When that is echoed by the party who are in government, it goes a long way to affect every sector, be it the security, the social service, whatever. So I don't know what we have to do about it, but I'm just happy that we don't have anything like that in our party. And those who want to just dwell on that and capitalize and move in that direction, I think they would have to do a lot to be able to convince the dissenting Ghanaians as to the way forward.
Okay. Now, as we're dealing with a cocktail of issues as today's topic, I just want to ask you another question. As I was driving into the studios, I heard this thing of the government having invested 15 million Ghana cedis in guinea fowl farms. What's that? What do you think?
I heard it on City FM, Eyewitness News this evening.
Yeah.
If they have invested that amount of money in guinea fowl, I believe we should have guinea fowl across the country now, running in the house like how we rear our poultry, domestic poultry in our various homes. It's all about how the government is trying to misuse the public funds. 15 million Ghana cedis? Where? I don't know whether we are yet to know the area that they are doing that production.
They said Bolgatanga. And interestingly, it belongs to a company known as Azon Taba. Now, you know what Azon Taba means in the local dialect?
No.
Scratch my back, let me scratch your back.
Oh, okay. No surprise. I mean, you shouldn't be surprised if you hear that. I believe there was a time after the demise of the late president when we were told that about, I don't remember the amount of money which has been given to somebody who had just registered a company to go and afforestate the savannah
It is this, you know, the interesting thing is that they are all companies that belong to Roland the Gambiri of RLG. Azon Taba is a company that belongs to Roland the Gambiri as well. And then I've forgotten the name of that one too that was given to our first state. And they spent actually 33 million Ghana cedis, and we can't find money for our teachers.
We would have to bring artists from outside to come and sing and insult us at the end of the day, encourage our youth to indulge into
weed smoking.
And so that we can pay them, I think, $1 million to go back to their country. And we'll see our security men watching as if there was nothing at stake. So I think the issue with the RLG needs to be delved down into. Because if you look at the issue with regards to the laptops, one laptop per student, that quality of laptop, which is going for like 2,000 Ghana cedis with no CD-ROM, okay, that are being disbursed by the government, that they made a lot of noise about it during the elections. I think we would have to use experts to go into that. We don't want to discourage private companies from, you know, I mean, doing well on the market, competing with the world market, doing so much for the country. But if you have questions with one particular company who has a lot of questions, we would have to look at that, and I just don't know.
Okay, now at this stage, I want to just give a little bit of information about, you know, the series of things that are happening here. First of all, I have an issue with RLG, not because it is a private company, because we should encourage private Ghanaian businesses, but What is the unit price of the laptops that the government of Ghana bought from RLG and distributed to the citizenry of this country? Because you would find out that on the market, the average RLG laptop is around 500 Ghana cedis. So really, for cost-benefit analysis, what was the unit price of those computers that the government of Ghana bought from RLG? Number two, Azon Tagba. Really, what is that company about? And why is the government of Ghana so infatuated with funding every company that Mr. Roland Agambiri is involved in? We are conducting our investigations, and I promise you that starting Wednesday, we'll begin to delve into these matters very soon, because something, obviously, does not smell right. I'm saying it again, that we are conducting our investigations into RLG, Mr. Roland Agambiri, and his dealings with the government of Ghana, because something obviously does not smell right in these matters. Now, dealing with matters of, inflation and all of that, let's come back to infrastructure again. I know that you are a contractor, and so you are an expert on some of these matters. When it gets to that field, with the construction prices that have been made available for 6 classroom blocks and all of that, what really do you think? In about, in a year, the price jumped from 80,000 Ghana cedis per unit of a 6 classroom block to around 300,000 per unit. What's going on?
No. I'm happy that I've been in this industry for like 10 years. Road construction, buildings, some small irrigation works. When the buildings, the classroom block, those 6-unit classroom block, I think the initial one was about 80,000 Ghana cedis, right? And it rose to about 300 to 350.
Yeah. I have seen, a contract for 425,000 Ghana cedis.
What are they using? Are they using special blocks? Because I know the price for one block is about 80 pesos. The time that we were doing those construction, 80 pesos, 70 pesos, not even up to 1 cedi. A classroom block, 6-unit classroom block, what is the quantity of blocks that will go into a 6-unit? Let's just add maybe a headmistress or headmaster's office, a staff common room. How many units are you having? And what is the quantity in terms of blocks? Are we constructing or are we manufacturing the Siedun Ketia blocks, that of Buidam, that special concrete? Even if with that one, that 6-inch block, you can't buy that block at even 2 cedis. So it's all about what the government has just been perpetuating, what they want to do. Just get some structures, put it somewhere, get the money, use it for other things. Because the priority of the government is nowhere near even education. That is why they always want to tell you that, okay, those who want to go to free education, they will find a way to lambast the MPP with that aim of trying to educate more of the populace. So at least, if there's any information, any news, you can sit in your house, or even your phone, you can just go onto the net and then find some small 1 or 2. You don't have to listen. Listen, if you listen to a Siedun Ketia on radio, and if you are the type who doesn't listen to other alternate radio stations or do your own research, and you're an MPP member, I don't think you would even listen to any other person in MPP again. He has a sweet way of talking. Okay? So that is the reason. Let's get people not educated. Let's get some few people in NDC or few people in our society, just push them, confuse and adulterate their minds. When they go out and they come back, let them get us involved in what they are doing and champion the cause of just trying to mislead the public. Is if you are educated. Look, let's make a simple example. If you have a kettle in the house and maybe you want to heat water, but you want to use it with maybe salt, you know that if you add the salt to the kettle, because there's metal, it will corrode. Yeah. Okay? So it means that the lifespan of that kettle will be reduced to maybe, if it's 5 years, maybe to 2 years. But that is a simple thing that I did. I was one day in the kitchen, when I said, no, you don't have to add the salt to the water. You just boil the water first. And when you are done with it, you add the salt. You won't learn this thing from the house. With the corrosion and intrusion, you won't learn it anywhere unless you go to at least some basic education with your basic knowledge in science. So you see, when you educate a person, it's not about the person just going to work with it, but in the person's own life. I'm in my house, my gadgets, my electrical gadgets other things that relate to some science? Because everything we do now is science.
Okay, so back to the issue of infrastructure and construction. Basically, is it possible through some wild imagination or calculation, using experience, that the price could have normally jumped from 80,000 to 300,000 plus? Anyway.
No. You see, even when you have problems with the production of cement, if you look at the amount of cement, the cost of one cement bag at that time, that we had some shortfall, I think last year. Even if you are looking at that time, and the percentage increment, it was not up to 30% or 40%. Okay? So what other thing increased from that time? Because you have iron rods and then cement and sand. Basically, and labor. Labor doesn't change all of a sudden. Not that you went to a community and you are not having people here, so you have to go and transport people from maybe 10 kilometers, 5 kilometers. That changed the labor. The labor wouldn't change. Maybe the only thing that would change is transport. Because the people, when they are charging maybe 10 cedis, when it goes out of his jurisdiction or his area, maybe some 2 or 3 cities because of the inconvenience. There's absolutely no way that we can have that increment. No way. I challenge any NDC member, any government appointee in that field to come and challenge me that what I'm saying is wrong. Okay. They will put it one after the other, do the mathematics one after the other. There's no way you can have that thing. But
the government is telling us that architectural engineering services have actually okayed that, and then they don't give us explanations of details.
Who amongst the AESL has come out to okay that? Who? I don't want to disclose some issues here. Who among the AES? Is it the director? Or the head of quantities? Or the head of architecture? Or the head of planning at AESL? I know that company inside out. Who among the company staff, the board, had come out to okay this price in the market? We just want to see any of them, at least, because in the field, if I'm a civil engineer, it doesn't mean that I have all the knowledge in my head. There are so many other engineers who will just even come and cross-check my calculation, be it structures or quantities. So if they will come out and tell us, okay, this is what we okayed, then we'll ask them where. Because you know, when you are buying cement from Accra to maybe Tamale or to Wa, I don't know the details involved with maybe Gasem and those, but the wholesalers, there's a fraction, okay? And so you can't have that. Look, this is sickening. For this one,
you think it's just a mean of siphoning state funds?
Of course, because what else can you do? Are they going to tell that maybe I bought a phone at 200 Ghana cedis, and then maybe if you have an RLG phone, as we are just seeing in the market, and everybody knows that maybe the price of an RLG, one brand, is 200. So you move to Kumasi and you buy that 400 or 500. So they can use the construction. Look, the inflations in construction, delayed payment, no matter what it is, it won't get to that quantum. Because after a contractor maybe submits a certificate to the client or the government, within 91 days, he doesn't qualify for any interest in delay payment. So are they saying that they are just keeping the contractor certificate and just trying to find a way to add those interests? Because after 91 days, if the contractor is not paid, then he starts getting his interest in the delay payment. Because as you keep his money without paying, because maybe he had also gone to banks.
Take a bank loan.
Sure. Yeah. So for this issue of classrooms,
all right. Now let's look at the issue of payments in the construction industry in particular. Exactly what is happening? Is the government paying contractors on time?
No. For construction, I think we had challenges even in the MPP. But you see, they will always try and lobby the contractor. I've previewed to a lot of those constructions that were undertaken in the era of the MPP, being it the Circle Achimota, the Achimota of Angkor, Malam Kaswa, Apeja Bonsu Enyinem, Sogako Akachi, Panta Manfida, Ebru Road, and some town roads. All these projects, you'll have some challenges. But with this government, I know that the contractors will not come out and then tell you what is happening. But look, some of them are still being owed even their mobilization from 2010. Mobilization. That's the 5% of the contract sum to mobilize the contractor to site. If you have not paid that one and you jump and you start paying other certificates, that interest of our 3-4 years, I don't know whether it's maybe you see the contractor down as the government maybe is trying to do. Let's try and put your first or 2-3 certificate down and let's work on the 5th, 6th one, which is the immediate one, so that the other ones will be increasing. So that when you come to complain, you tell, well, I've not paid the person. So the person is just claiming what is right. You understand? So that's it. You see, The most dangerous criminal is the person who is gifted with a good sense of reasoning but with no morals. The person who have all the good sense of reasoning, but if you don't have that morals backing you, this is what you're going to have at the end of the day. You see, the construction which are ongoing, I heard from one source at a BNI meeting, that was a national security meeting, somewhere last year, that some of the contractors were deliberately refused payment because they were pro-MPPs before the elections. And they were paid somewhere in January and February this year. Go and check from the Ministry of Finance. Go and check from the Ghana Highway Authority, and you get to understand what we are talking about. So what is the nation? You are trying to sideline contractors, you pay some of the contractors, you leave others, when people need money for Christmas.
Ma'am, I'm getting the impression that there's a lot of shady dealing going on in the construction industry.
Sure. I mean, the 10% kickback, I'm sure some of them, they take more than 10% kickbacks. You see, some of the jobs, you would see a contractor who is working on a project, and with all due respect, I mean, some of them are watching, so you see that the person's equipment on site, the labor, I mean, the type of work that the person is undertaking leaves much to be desired. The person is struggling to even make a substandard or maybe say class B project. We have class A, B, C, I mean the standards. So the person is struggling, but because the person is with the government, you understand? Have you looked at the Ofanko Awoshi Road?
No, I have.
Okay. Have a look at it. Yeah, you have a look at some of them.
That is saying a lot. That is terribly saying a lot. Okay, so now that we've discussed all of these things, what do you think government should do? Should they pay, first of all, should they be more moralistic, if there's a word like that, in their outlook? And should they pay contractors on time? What really are the solutions?
You see, the government doesn't listen to the engineers. And I believe that the engineers should actually strengthen themselves. I mean, I don't know whether they have to be, but okay, there's something I cannot even say on air.
Yeah.
Okay, if the contractors, the consultants, or the engineers, let me be just general, engineers, don't have the guts to advise the government, the client, that this and this and this must be done in this contract. You see the N1. This morning there was an accident involving 7 vehicles. Okay? They will tell you that if you put some speed humps here, it will defeat the concept of the highway. So if you have to put a speed hump, and that would defeat the concept of the highway, must you ignore that and kill people on the way? So the other alternative is to get the footbridges at vantage areas. Look at Abeka Junction. From Abeka Junction to the next footbridge. So which of the engineers couldn't advise the government that, look, this is a station. This is the Trotro station. So just imagine your old lady is coming from Kaswa or Malam. She get down at La Paz Junction. She has to walk 1.2 kilometers to climb the footbridge and descend and walk another 1.2 kilometers to the same junction before she crosses to the house. You wouldn't even do that with all your luggage. You know, so it's about time that the engineers, look, in my field, I have my own private job that I do. If I want to put up a structure for a client who comes to me, I'll tell you that if your structure is more than 2-3 story, I'm sorry, I won't do the design for you until I get a geotechnical investigation about the soil, which most of the engineers are ignoring. And that goes a long way to the government as well. You understand? Because if they put you there and you challenge them, they take you out. But I expect the engineers like myself to be bold enough, because if you are a qualified engineer, you will stay home and you get your jobs. There are some times that when you insist on what you have to do to get the basic concept of the construction, like, I don't want to remember our people, like the Malcolm saga, okay? When the AMA boss had to go there and close the other subsequent and other structures because of the first one. What was the rationale behind the closure of those other ones? And why did the engineers not come out to actually ask why was that buildings asked to, the inhabitants had to leave those buildings? Did they do any test to see that the other buildings around the Malcolm, that famous building, were substandard or above standard? What checks came in? You just go to court and get, what do you call it? To take the people out of the place, because there's a building opposite which has just collapsed.
Straightforward question. Are we building a solid country or a weak country in terms of construction?
We are not. We are not. And
we're not building a solid or a weak country.
We are not building a solid country in terms of construction. Because you see, I would give about 3 areas. You pick from Medina to like Ibri, pick from Ofanko to the Suhum Road, pick from Malam to Kaswa. You see, God in his own wisdom created valleys in areas where, when we have runoffs from the mountains, they are supposed to settle down there and they take their own time to percolate into the soil. Now, all these areas are being bought by the rich men, and they are springing up filling stations across the whole length of the roads. Who gives them the permit? The district assemblies. Who are the engineers at the district assemblies? Are they qualified? Or they are just trying to suit the people who come there because there's a letter from the government or there's a letter from the ministry that give this person the permit to build in a waterway. Look, we are trying to increase pavements across the country. People build their houses or factories and they pave the whole place. That increases runoff. The engineers are aware. Because if you pave the whole construction area, the rate of percolation is low. So when it rains and the rains are high, it increases the runoff on the surface of the planet, of the earth.
Okay.
So the engineers are aware and they are allowing. So if maybe you are driving through a district and you see about 10 question mark filling stations and factories along where we are supposed to have reserved for water, catchment areas, what are you supposed to do as an engineering board?
Okay. Those are very serious questions that we guess the government will have to deal with later on. My plea to all of these authorities is that don't look at what we are saying as just negative criticism. Rather, learn to inculcate this in your planning and let's prevent national disasters before they even do occur. I'll take another break now, and when we come back, we'll delve into more of the politics. Welcome back. The irony of Ghana is that the person who is expected to have been the most experienced president in Ghana, because he's been a parliamentarian for so long, he's been a minister, a deputy minister, a vice president, and now a president, appears to be making a load of mistakes. First, it was the Jubilee flags. Before that, it was even Mr. Andrew Solomon and his issues. And then there was a reshuffling of ministers even before they went to the appointments committee. And then there was a reshuffling of ministers immediately after they had been approved. And then there was a whole issue of Jubilee Flagstaff House. This weekend, it appears the president told media men in their faces that they were lazy. Yes, you heard it right. And there's a second group of people that he's categorizing as being lazy, after he accused civil servants as well of being lazy, asking that they lift up their performance to meet the single spine salary standard. Eugene Mafo has joined us finally in the studios. Eugene, what do you make of these pronouncements? Is it the case of a lazy workman blaming everybody for his low output, or it's a case of he really means what he says and he has a case?
No, thank you very much. Let me just say briefly, good evening to your viewers. Nana, the President John Mahama, he complains too much. He complains too much. He complains about virtually everything, forgetting that the position we have assigned him is for him to solve problems and not to complain about the problems. When we complain to him about erratic load shedding, gas shortage, water supply, he tells us that he's chewed the meat right down to the bone. When we complain about teacher strike, NHIS, he says he's chewed the meat right down to the bone. When we complain, he said he's having sleepless nights. Is that... I feel sometimes that the president sometimes is confused about his job description. As regards the media, Ghana is still at a democratic, embryonic stage. Real freedom of expression, real media pluralism came into being after 2001, where as Attorney General, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo facilitated the repealing of the criminal libel law. That was when these things started happening. Then President Kufuor, when he was president, assisted former president of GJ Gifsiafe Indazi to set up the International Press Center. So he realized that, and it was also during the era of President Kufuor that the GIJ started awarding degrees.
Yeah.
So he realized that in the era of President Kufuor, recognizing that Ghana was now learning the democratic practices, and the media, being the fourth estate of the realm, had to be empowered to do what it had to do. But as for President John Mahama, he's complaining about laziness. There are laws that, when passed, will allow members of the media access to information so that they can conduct in-depth research. And when they come to him and his ministers, they can ask probing questions. It is not about complaining. That is not his job. We complain about the obstacles we are facing, and he provides solution to some of those obstacles.
Okay, now let's place this discussion into a little bit more context. The president is saying that the media is a lazy organization, that they run lazy money show. My question is that, since when did he realize that? Because throughout, you know, the entire political campaigning period, he was the beneficiary of most of this laziness. So why is he now complaining, Mahama? What do you make sense of that?
Yeah, that's what Eugene just said. I don't know what he's complaining about now. Why? When we have the programs in the mornings, is it only about politics? Even if it's about politics, is it for the betterment of what is happening in the country?
Well, they claim that there are too many insults on our airwaves.
That's what he has just said. You see, so what I don't understand. So if he is complaining about the insult, I believe that from last year, his people, a lot, from Radio 1 to Radio Z to Radio 10 to Radio whatever, when you come out, look at what happened to Bawumia, our own Bawumia, when he raised the issue with this statistical issues about, what happened? I don't want to mention anybody's name, but look at what happened to that gentleman. Look at the man in charge of whatever at the castle, who jumped from one radio station to the other, calling Christians madmen. Oh,
Dr. Tony Edo.
Of course.
He's been quiet for a while.
Of course, he will be quiet. We are waiting to see which of the positions he will be given. Whether he will still running the affairs at the castle, maybe now at the Flagstaff House. I'm not sure he'll be at the Flagstaff House. So what is the president saying about this laziness? When his people were campaigning for him during the election time?
Insulting everybody.
Insulting everybody. We call people to stations to come and educate Ghanaians about all other sectors, health, education, sports, and whatever. Are they all lazy programs? Look.
Mama, you know what I find interesting in all of this? The president himself is on record to have used words such as baloney. Yeah. He described discussions in parliament as foolishness. Yeah. He went to the extent of saying that if you don't go out to vote, any idiot can become president. Yeah. And he never reminded himself that those words were insults against the people of Ghana. But, I mean, I don't know what to say when it comes to matters like this, but ladies and gentlemen, I believe that we all get the picture that we are creating. Mr. President, please, let's stop the hypocrisy. I'll repeat that. Mr. President, please, let's stop the hypocrisy. Enough is enough. Now let's come to the presidential blunders again. He has again invited NAGRAT and all the teacher associations to the castle, and they were in discussions today. Really, do we need meetings or we want solutions?
Look, this cosmetic meetings by the president anytime people go on strike to give the impression that he is going to do something about it will come to nothing. I tell you this because only recently the Minister of Finance released a budget statement, and when you go through, you realize that satisfying of the teachers' requests is not something which is on the president's priority list. These negotiations they are having right now started years ago. If President Mahama had the willingness to pay them whatever was due them in order to forestall whatever our children are experiencing now, he would have done it. That wasn't his interest.
Instead of spending 15 million on guinea fowls.
Not more. Our brothers and sisters up north are suffering disasters from torrential rain. Nadmo says it is broke. Meanwhile, there was no Katrina last year. There was no hurricane. There was nothing. Nadmo overspent to the tune of 300 million Ghana cedis. And they are broke. So what did they use the money for? And don't forget, ultimately, it is the president who is the spender. And if the president does not approve of some spending and you go ahead to do it, we should expect sanctions from him. So far, everybody is supposed to, even some are aspiring to positions in the party.
And
They
some
are
have actually
opposed.
been promoted.
So when the president later comes and says, I'm sitting with them, and these are teachers, they read the budget. They have seen what is going on. They have seen that between the ministry, the office of the president, the Ministry of Youth and Sports, social protection policies and whatever, the president or the NDC government overspent to the tune of 1.9 billion Ghana cedis, equivalent to the overspending of the single spine salary structure that they are claiming has caused a significant impact on the budget deficit. These few bodies overspent to that amount. Then when you come around and tell the teachers that you don't have money or you've chewed the meat right down to the bone, what are you trying to tell them?
All right, now, Mama, I want you
Who
to
should
address...
sack the marrow?
I want you to address this particular issue for me. Let's look at presidential emoluments. Let's look at executive emoluments. The president last year increased his salary to about 12,000 Ghana cedis, aside other benefits as well. That of the vice president was also increased significantly, and then backdated to more than 3 years. That of ministers of state were also increased and backdated. That of members of parliament were also increased and backdated. I mean, basically, Article 71 office holders enjoyed a lot of benefits. Perhaps that was a chewing of the meat. Yeah. Now, when you tell teachers that there is no money in such extenuating circumstances, how do you expect them to feel? You think the action of teachers is justified?
Yes, it is. Because the teachers are not, when they finish teaching, after their service, being in maybe 20, 25, 30 years, they're not going to live on some tree somewhere. Please, with all due respect, the teachers are not doing any work for God. Service to God, service to mankind, or service to mankind, service to God. Okay? The teacher is supposed to teach your student. Look, have you gone back to your senior secondary school to see your teachers there? No, let's be very serious with this issue. Go back to your school and find out the teacher who taught you. Okay? You'll be so embarrassed. If you're not very careful, you will weep with them. Because that's all that they depend on. So if you want to increase your salary and backdate it, and expect that the teacher will just swallow what he has. Somebody has a car. He has to be given some maintenance. You say no. So you should use the small money, the salary you have given to him to maintain this car and go and teach the future president, the future engineers, the medical staff. And
they'll come back in 3 years to be richer than his. At this juncture, I want you to join us on the phone lines with your thoughts on 030-2211-701-4. I repeat the phone lines as I usually do. 030-2211-701-4. As usual, the text lines remain 1760 all networks. Mama, back to you on the issue of teachers and their emoluments.
Yeah, so as I was saying, you don't expect that the teacher will finish and then go and get his rewards from somewhere. Please, Mr. President, as Eugene said, get to the bottom of this and pay them. I was told just a few days ago that they were trying to revamp the management of Ghana Water.
Yeah.
They need about 2 million Ghana cedis, $2 million to revamp the place.
Okay. I have Osman from Bolga on the line. Osman, how are you doing?
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening, Chief.
Yeah, Osman Konko now, I follow from Zongo Youth Bolga.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to talk about the president's comment about the laziness of the...
No, but Osman, I have a question for you before you go ahead. I hear that they are running guinea fowl in Bolgatanga.
Yeah, after that, what happened? But we don't know where they're doing it.
You don't know where they are doing it?
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
Let's talk about the construction business.
Okay.
The construction, when Kufuor took over in 2001, we have a construction that we call GOG, Ghana Government Project.
Yeah.
If you've done that job, and you send a certificate to the road fund, in 3 months, that's 87 days, you take your money. But this government, when you do this kind of job, it will take 2 years before the government will pay.
Interesting.
Even we have some contractors we call SMG, that's single man contractors, the grass cutting, 1,000 Ghana cedis. 6 months, 1 year, this government pays.
Okay.
So made the guy, most of people poorer because of the system. You pay contractors today.
All right.
You pay carpenter, you pay mason, you pay his workers. The worker will go
Thank
to
you
buy what they want.
very much, Osman. We have Baku from Yendi. How are you doing, Senior?
Thank you. Good evening to you and your panelists.
Thank you very much as well.
Yeah, just to contribute to your program.
Yes, sir.
I think the government is not being fair to teachers at all. Imagine giving himself such a colossal amount of money. Look at the financiering, look at the amount they are taking. Look at the high cost of living in the country. Compare the price of goods to that of the salaries of teachers. I think government has not been fair to teachers at all.
Okay.
It's time, as you mentioned earlier, that the meat is down to the bone. I think it's high time we left the office. It's about time the president starts packing his bags and baggages.
Okay. Thank you very much for that comment. I have a mayor from Techiman. Senior, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you, sir.
Okay.
Okay, the president, is this solution solver or the problem cleaner?
Perhaps he's the
I
chief
don't
complainer.
understand him. He always complains. Because you're supposed to solve our problem for us, not to make complaints for us, because we have given you all the resources of Ghana to handle it. So if your mother is there and then you have about 3 cars, either for them, for your mother to solve the problem for the children, always
She's rather complaining.
complain.
All right. Thank you very much as well. I have Abina from Kaswa. How are you doing?
I'm good. Good evening.
Good evening, madam.
What's your name, please? Your name?
My name is Nana.
Nana. Yeah, Nana. Good evening.
Good evening.
I want to congratulate you guys for the job well done. You are really trying, and we are always praying for you. But seriously, the president has to get something in mind. They should be serious about this country and stop playing with us, because we are no longer kids. They spent the whole money, including even my area. I knew people who, they bought cars, they bought a whole lot for. They spent the money, and now they want teachers to just relax. How did he become the president anyway? Who taught him? It was a teacher. They should forget about all these things. Stop that hypocrisy like he's sitting there doing. This is crap. The whole government, they are so incompetent, honestly. They should find something better to do, because they should just get off that seat. I don't even know what they are doing. They are just wasting our time. Nana, have a blessed day, please.
Thank you very much. I have Sofiano from Pusiga. Sofiano, how are you doing?
Oh, fine, sir. Good evening.
Good evening, Chief.
Please, I want to talk about the laziness.
Yes, sir.
When you have a president that is so inept and he doesn't want to work, these are the issues we will be addressing. I get in it.
Yeah.
And then talk about the other issues. Just a fiasco. We are seeing nothing from this SADA program. It's just a fiasco.
Thank you very much. Adamuda from Waya, my last caller.
Yeah, thank you very much, Nana. Good evening to you and your panelists.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while indeed. I thank you very much for this program, and I thank my co-communicators too for this wonderful job. Talking about the president, the hypocrisy of this president must stop. Look, this is the same person who was always on radio and television stations discussing things that he did not have the knowledge of. He is now telling people that they don't have the expertise to analyze the things he is now analyzed. He used to analyze. This is unfortunate. Here is the president who cannot carry this country. This country is heavier than him. It is only Nana Akufo-Addo who can hold this country and run this country effectively. And therefore, I call on the Supreme Court to deal expeditiously with the case so that Nana Akufo-Addo will come and they rescue us from this mess this man is putting all of us into. Look, the president comes out and tells us that, people who are always talking, he has used the media was supporting him to run his campaign. Now that they are not on his cause because everything is going back, he is now having the force to come and tell us that the media is not doing well. The media is always playing their jingles when they debate is fought and whatever.
Okay.
He should give us a break. If he cannot solve the problem, he should just honorably hand over, because very soon he is even going to hand over, whether he likes it or not. Thank you very much.
Thank you to Adamuda for that call. I think that one of the things we need to bear in mind is that perhaps since people like Mr. Kwesi Pratt and Alhaji Bature have seemingly turned against the president and are now criticizing him, he all of a sudden seems to have realized that the media is lazy. Wrapping up, Mama.
Yeah, please, Nana, you see, we shouldn't just talk slow on the issue of the energy crisis. Look, the rippling effect on the energy crisis as we speak, it's not easy. Look, you look at the issue with the teachers. You know, the nurses have not been paid yet.
Yeah.
About 2 years, those who have qualified for the past two and a half years have been asked to forgo 1 year of their internship.
Wow.
And then start from somewhere after 1 year.
So in short, what you're saying is that there's a lot more crisis coming up.
Goodness. They were supposed to have gone on street about 2 months ago, or was it a month ago?
God grant us life, and then we'll see what happens. Eugene Mafo.
Yeah, Nana, I cannot conclude without touching on the president's spending of 600 million Ghana cedis. His office alone, whilst he promised SADA the same amount over a period of 4 years, yet he called on them to vote for him because he's one of them. That just by the way. Let me, on a light note, congratulate the president for seeing wisdom in moving to the Jubilee House. Though I am disappointed he's confused about the address. I just want to assure the people of Ghana that the problems we are facing right now, the challenges we are facing right now, is only temporary. The people of Ghana did not vote for an incompetent president. The people of Ghana did not vote for somebody who complain when we are complaining. We should relax. We should hold on. The house of reasoning, the house of justice, the house of fairness, the Supreme Court will rule in our favor, and the right thing will be done. Ghanaians should not give up in politics.
Okay. Thank you very much for watching this show. My name is Nana Kofi Mpondama. My guests have been Mr. Eugene Mafo and Mahama Abdullahi. Wrapping up, I would say this, that look, let's bear in mind the fact that Ghana is the only country that we have. I don't think that we need a government that will say that the office of the president has to spend 600 million above its budget, whilst the whole 3 northern regions, the Upper Volta and Upper Brongahafo regions, are neglected in the same amount of money that the president promised them in a search for power. Really, we need real development. We need developments that we can feel in our pockets as well. Until that day when that development finally begins to come to Ghanaians, I would say that let's hold steadfast and good evening.